You know what I find so fascinating, and it kind of pisses me off just a little bit. Hustle culture. You see, the thing with hustle culture is it constantly teaches us that we constantly need to produce. Like being productive is, the end all be all thing. And what what I disagree with that thing is we don't always need to produce, and we don't always need to constantly be grinding. You need to be working in order to, optimize your lifestyle, optimize your life to the life that you want, where you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't go out, you can't have parties, you can't have drinks, and just like not saying like this, they're not other stuff, because there is other stuff that you can do, but like what it teaches is that we constantly need to be working, even if it means we're constantly sacrificing life itself. And I think that is such a slave mentality to be in, if you're thinking that constantly being productive is a good thing. And it's a slave mentality, because what you're constantly doing and you constantly telling yourself is, I just need to work. I just need to work. I just need to work. Then I'll get the life that I want. Then I'll be sorted. Then which is not a bad thing, but it gets to an extent where you cut off everything and you cut off your entire lifestyle just to get where you are. You're isolated, you're lonely, you're not going out and doing things that actually make you human, and it's something that's inhuman actually, because our whole thing is to have balance in life. And as humans, we need to have balance. And when you are constantly just on the laptop or whatever you're working on, when you're constantly working, your brain only has a certain amount of energy for certain things, and if you're constantly working, 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 then it's gonna tap out. Your brain is gonna tap out, and we constantly think that we as humans are machines. We're not machines. We need a break. We need to rest. We need to recover. And you can do that however you want to. It's just the fact that hustle culture teaches us that we need to ignore all of that and work until we're tired. Work, even don't sleep. Don't sleep. And to some extent, I feel as that is, it's unhealthy to your body, and it's unhealthy to your mental health and emotional health, because I feel like it takes away the experiences you get as a human being in life, and I recently watched a TV show, and I recently watched a TV show called Off Campus, and it just showcased what it actually meant to be human, and these guys, these athletes, they were in a frat house and stuff like that, but these athletes were top tier athletes, top tier athletes playing hockey and stuff like that. And but they were they were constantly grinding, they were constantly working out, they were on training, because when you're the A team, when you that team, you still have to be a little bit disciplined. But they didn't let that stop them from actually enjoying life, because they had their hobbies, they had things that they genuinely enjoy doing outside of work, outside of being the athlete, outside of being the people that need to constantly look for the future, because they were present in those moments. They were partying, they were drinking, they were, what you call it, they were they were having relationships, some with multiple women, but they were having different type of experiences. Some were even there was a guy that, I'm not spoiling the show, but like it just showcased that there was other human experiences other than what you're busy with, and it showcased you don't need to constantly do those type of things. You don't constantly need to be every day on the grind 24/7. Because some of those guys were cooking, some of those guys were reading, some of those guys were fixing cars, heck, because that's what they genuinely enjoy. And in life, you need to have a balance of everything. One day you can be grinding, the next day you can be learning, the next day you can be, um, I don't know, gymming or working out or jogging or doing some type of sport. And after that you can be socializing, like taking a whole day just to socialize, or whatever you want to do on that day. So it all depends on what you're working with, and it all depends on how much you actually enjoy, because hustle culture teaches you to pro- productivity is what you need to do, but productivity is a trap to constantly feed into their narrative, constantly feed into the thing that if you produce, you will get the life that you want. But it comes with certain consequences of your entire mental health and your entire emotional health. It takes away the human experience to just live life and not to worry about the next day, the next day, the next day. And it's like, you need to do this. So when that alarm goes off, you just clock in and do the work that you need to do, then clock out again once it's done. Then you go enjoy life. And I think that is more genuine than what the mainstream hustle culture is trying to push back. Is you need to experience life. You need to experience life as a human, and thinking that you need to produce constantly is a trap. Love life to the fullest and be present to it if you want to do, and have a balance within your life, because that's in that way you will succeed. In that way you will get what you want at the end of the day, because as much as it's not work, or you can call it work, that's the thing, but as much as it's not work, it's still something that will help you when you work. So your mind isn't constantly flustered on, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do this. Then all you're thinking is, no, I socialized. No, I did something that made me feel proud. No, I did an artwork, or I did music. I wrote a song type of thing. So something to make you feel proud and just being human. So hustle culture strips that out of the way completely, and it's a complete lie altogether.